would like to ask again Nataša Kazantzidou to do to summarize the first session, the Greek session of today. Nataša.
Thank you, Nefeli. Actually, today we managed to merge the two sessions into one. In the beginning, today the session, the day is devoted to tracking VET graduates and how tracking is connected with quality assurance of vocational education and training at the level of the education provider, at the level of the organization that provides education, and not at the national level. We started the presentations. I started with a presentation of On-Track project. On-Track developed a methodology for tracking VET graduates, a methodology that has been tested in 7 different countries. And this second session in English will continue with presenting different case studies from On-Track. During the first session, we had also Mrs. Maria Theodoru that presented the Cypriot case, how intercollege responded to On-Track and how they implemented the tracking methodology, the tracking survey. Further to that, we had the presentation from the University of Aegean, Greek university, that presented a tracking system for MOOCs and e-learning courses, a different approach in the framework of continuing professional education, and not on regular courses, but on having to do with MOOC and e-learning and how the studies, the different courses, MOOC courses, influence and have an impact on employability. Lastly, we had a presentation by Mr. Kyriakos, President of IDEC, the Pan-Hellenic Association of Directors of Initial Vocational Education Centers, that presented how they will implement a tracking methodology to vocational education institutes to measure the effect, the impact of work-based learning in vocational education and training, the impact of work-based learning on employability. So that was a summary of the first presentations. Now we will continue with presentations from On-Track project, and we have presentations from Slovakia, Spain, and Austria regarding the results of pilot testing of On-Track.
Thank you, Nataša. And now I would like to call Professor Nataša Urbančiková, who is a professor at the Technical University of Kosice in Slovakia.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to this event and to giving me the chance to present the results of the On-Track project at our university. Now I will share my screen with you. So I would like to share experience from the Technical University of Kosice in Slovakia about implementing the On-Track methodology during the graduate tracking. So very briefly about our institution. So we are Technical University and we consist of 9 faculties, and we provide education and research mainly in different engineering disciplines, but also in economics and the arts. Just to have an idea about the size of our institution and or about the number of the students, at the moment we have closely to 10,000 students, and they are studying at 3 levels of study: bachelor's, engineering, and doctoral study. Just to have an idea where we are, you can see here the map of European Union, and we are in a very eastern part or very eastern border of EU, very close to Poland, Hungary, and Ukraine. At the right side, you can see picture of our university, one of the building of our university, and at the left side, you can see a few pictures from Kosice town. So what was the history of the tracking at our institution? So of course, we have tried to receive the feedback from the students, and we are doing it quite a long time, maybe more than 20 years. And we also tried to get closer to with our graduates, like the Alumni Association and the other activities. But this monitoring of employability of our graduates was uncoordinated. As I have already mentioned, we have 9 faculties. So sometimes, from time to time, when there was a new vice dean for education, so he or she started to track the graduates, but it was one of activity, and it wasn't done at the level of the university. It was done just at the level of the faculties, but not like the coordinated activity, more than ad hoc activity. So nowadays we are undergoing the changes in Slovakia, and we have the big opportunity in the favor of graduates tracking, because we have so-called Slovak Accreditation Agency for Higher Education, and they hope and they are striving to increase the quality of higher education institution in Slovakia. And also just nowadays they are preparing, or they already prepared, the new standards for the universities. And one of these standards also includes that the universities are obliged to collect, analyze, and use relevant information for effective management of the study programs and other activities. So it means it is included in the standards that the key indicators of education has to include the opinions of graduates and employers, and the employment of the graduates as well. So it came just in the right time, because it was during the on-track project implementation, these new standards arrived, and the university, not on the faculty levels, but at the university level, is obliged to do the graduate tracking. So because I was aware of this, and of course we wanted to do the pilot run of the tracking, I visited firstly the vice dean of our faculty. I am coming from the Faculty of Economics, but she was slightly hesitating about this issue. So I decided to visit the vice rector for education. I spoke with him, I explained him the project, and he told me that this is a great idea, because it is what we need to introduce at our institution, at our university. And the tool which we are offering to them is just what our university is needed. So we decided to introduce on-track system for monitoring the employability of graduates. And it was sometimes at the same time last year in 2019. And vice rector decided that the 2 employees will participate in training in Athens within on-track project. And it was 1 employee of the study department of the rector's office, and 1 vice dean for education of one of the faculties, and I was also present. So all three of us, we were very actively working on adapting the questionnaire survey for EQF level 6 and 7. It means that we targeted bachelor and master students. So we adjusted this questionnaire based on our university needs, but then we realized that we have the first obstacle, because we need to have the consent to participate in the survey from the student side. Because we knew about these problems in January, so we started to contact our students, and they were the students in the last study, in the last year of the study at the bachelor and also master level. And we asked them before finishing the study at our university to provide us a private email address, because all of our students, of course, have the students' addresses, but they are valid only 6 months after finishing our university. So we were approaching them, and they signed the consent that we are allowed to contact them with a questionnaire after they will leave our university. We started this on-track survey at the end of September, and it's still undergoing. The first, we approach more than 600 students, 600 graduates from 2020. And at the moment, it isn't 2,500, but even 1,000 more graduates from previous year. And what we are doing, or what we did from September, and we are doing it now as well. So 3 times during the 6 weeks of the surveys, a reminder was sent or will be sent for these old graduates with a request to fill out a questionnaire, and it helped us to increase the return rate significantly. So what were the results and conclusion from this survey? First of all, it was very important for me to know that the Technical University of Kosice understands the importance of increasing the quality of education by monitoring the employability of its graduates. So actually, we got the support from the vice rector, and it was a very key moment for success of this tracking. And the Vice Rector for Education subsequently promoted the idea of tracking at the level of all 9 faculties. And you can see here is a picture from the workshop on tracking promotion at faculties level. It was done, I think, maybe in April, I'm not quite sure, but as you can see, it was during the COVID pandemics, so it was done online. In addition, which was also and still is very important steps, the students from one of our faculty, it's a faculty of electrical engineering and informatics, has a team project which is compulsory during the education, which is called Living IT. And one team has been created, and we assign the task to this team that how to prepare the survey for the coming years, not to have it only like ad hoc or 1 year activity, in the way that it will create only very low burden for administrator at the faculties and the highest possible return rate from the graduate side. So at present, the students are working on these assignments, and they are created the new IT environment for survey and students' databases. And it will be very important to have the very easy tool where all students will be included. also with these new addresses. So we want to approach the students in the last year of study, and they will give us the consent GDPR online, and also they will give us the new email address, and everything will be in this database. And also it will enable very easy to modify questionnaire. It will be possible to filter the database based on the faculties, based on the year of the graduation and many other indicators. And also it will be easy for the faculties to evaluate the questionnaire at the level of faculties. So what we can say that On-Track project took the first significant steps in graduate tracking at our university, and also we have subsequent steps which were taken by the management of the Technical University of Kosice. And in this way, we can say that we ensured the sustainability of On-Track methodology and capacity building in the field of the quality of education support. So, as I have already mentioned, we have promoted and we introduced the methodology at the Technical University of Kosice, but we also had 2 multiplier events, and we approach one another university in the different town, which is called Prešov, and we also promoted On-Track methodology at the secondary school in small town, also outside of our region. And we have the very positive feedback from both of these institutions, and also because we have promoted projects through the emails. We also have the agreement with different types of the school within our country, which wish to implement the On-Track methodology at their institution. So it's very briefly all from my side. So thank you very much for the attention. And in the case that you have some question, I will be there, so you can ask me now or even at the end of this session. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Urbančiková. And now I would like to call Mr. Kepa Larondo, an international officer from Politécnica y Castella Torrieri in Spain.
Okay, hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Okay, first of all, let me present my institution. It's called Politécnica Torrieri. Okay, so it's called Politécnica Torrieri. Can you see the screen?
No, we can only see your camera.
Okay. Okay, well, my name is Kepa Larondo, as I said. I'm a project manager here at Politécnica Torrieri. I've prepared a short presentation also to share our experience in the piloting of the On-Track project.
We still cannot see your screen.
No.
Now it's okay. Now it's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so here you can see our school. We're located in the north of Spain, in the Basque Country. As you can see, it's close to France. Here in the Basque Country, it's very usual to have that the event centers in the region are usually quite small. For example, as assistants, we have 427 students and around 107 students in the evening. So we're used let's say, to work together with other VET centers. And therefore, we work really closely with ETEL, which is an association of 21 VET centers here in the Basque Country. These are the VET, this is our VET offer. Basically, we offer a high VET education, as you can see, technical VET education, and also upper secondary education. Okay, in our pilot run, we have tested the questionnaire with 355 students. The questionnaire we have developed in the on-track project was quite consistent, and therefore we have piloted the questionnaire twice, because well, first of all, we wanted to try the questionnaire with recent graduates, and also with graduates that finalized their degree long ago. In the first run, we sent quite a long questionnaire, because we wanted to collect the most possible data, and also wanted to pilot the whole questionnaire. What happened with this? The questionnaire was too long, in my opinion. So we only received a response rate of 55.5% with students that have studied high VET, and 6.5% of response rates for students that have studied medium VET. Okay, in order to do this, to send these questionnaires, what we used is called the Alexia platform. This is the platform we usually use to send emails to the students and so on. So, as Natasha just said, we send the questionnaires to students to the school's email account. Okay, this can also be a reason for the low response rates, because maybe some of them stop using this email account once they finish their degree here with us. Okay, so now I want to show you some of the answers from our students in order to analyze some data. Okay, for example, before you start the questionnaire, it's important your institution to set some clear goals of what is it, what you want. Well, so what is the data you want to collect? No? Well, the data, what is important for your institution? For example, one of our questions was Erasmus mobility important in order to find a job? Because we know that for our students, this experience is really important, because when they are abroad, they can develop, they can grow a lot as a person, and develop their personal skills apart from their labor skills, so their technical skills. So what we have done is ask if this Erasmus mobility was important also as in a personal aspect, and in a technical way for their employment. And we received quite a positive answer, because only 25% of the interviewees think that this experience was not relevant in order to find a job. Okay, so yeah, that's it. For example, another question we did is if you are planning to study once again or not. Why have we done this question to the interviewees? Because for us, it's important to know which students want to keep studying in order to send them information about possible future courses that we are giving here in our center. Okay, for example, we also asked the students if they have continued studying or not. Okay, so 54% of the students who have finished the high vocational training keeps studying once they finish. Okay, So 45.8% go to the university, but there is a huge percentage that study another high vocational training or they study some courses. So here, we know, thanks to this question, now we know which are the students that want to keep studying, and if they want to study maybe high in the university, which we don't offer this in our school, but we can, for example, send emails to the students that are interested in studying another high vocational training, because maybe they're interested in studying once again in our school, or some specific courses. So, for example, this information is very, very relevant for our school. Yeah, this is another questions we have done. For example, at the moment, here at least in Spain, it's really important to encourage women to learn technical related careers, and we are trying to do like a huge effort to encourage women in the Basque Country to study technical related courses. And for example, when you do to send these questionnaires, it's really important to be able to filter afterwards the questions, because for example, as I said, for example, with this question, have you ever worked in a job-related study? We have 80% of the students have worked in a job that is related with their studies. But if we segment and filtrate these answers by sex, let's say for men and women, now we know that 92% of the women that have studied in our vet center, then they get a job related with their studies. So for example, this information now for us at the moment is really important if we want to launch a marketing campaign to encourage women to study in our school. Because now we can say that 92.9% get a job that is related with their studies. Okay, so that's why it's really important to set goals before you start, before you plan the questionnaire. Because in On Track, for example, we offer a sample of questionnaires, but you can modify. It's important you modify it and adapt it to the necessity of your center. Okay, so these are some conclusions and some comments I would like to say that we gained thanks to this piloting experience. As I said, clear goals, and the questionnaires cannot be too long. Personally, I recommend around 20 or 40 questions. It has to be around 15 minutes, maximum 15 minutes. It has to take maximum 15 minutes for the students to answer the questionnaire. They have to be short and easy questions, otherwise they stop completing the questionnaire. As I said, afterwards, the data needs to be filtered. For example, it's important, if you want to know how many students got a job, it's important to know if they studied machining, or they studied programming, or if they are men or women, because this gives you a much brighter view of the data you are collecting. Also, it's important, to have, for example, in Spain, we don't really have this culture, for asking feedback and so on. But it's important we maintain the students engaged to the school's email address, and we don't miss and we don't lose the contact with them. For example, it's important we start working on this culture when they are still at our center. For example, when sending them questionnaires in their first year in order so that they get used to answering questionnaires. And if, for example, in the second year, we can also inform them, after 6 months or after 1 year, you will get a questionnaire, about if you are employed or not. And for example, it's also important to share the information we get with them. Because if they don't see the reason or a direct benefit of completing the questionnaire, it's very difficult to engage and encourage the students to answer this questionnaire. Okay, another recommendation I give is to send the questionnaires Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, not on weekends, for example, or because the people are more busy or are thinking on other things. And what we saw is also that's like an important marketing strategy is to send them like a reminder, for example, on Thursday, saying them that it's the last day to complete the questionnaire, because this is, gives a sense of urgency, and this way you can encourage the students to answer these questionnaires. Also, these questionnaires are really important for benchmarking, so that you can see what also other PET centers are doing, and you can compare your data with other centers. And therefore, last year we started working very closely with ETEL. As I said, ETEL is an association of PET centers here in the Basque Country. And I would like to show you also a web page they have developed. Now, can you see the web page?
Yes.
Okay, this is because that's when OnTrack started. We started, sharing our inputs with them. And they agreed with us that that tracking former graduates is a really important thing to do. Okay, so they have started using a platform that at the moment does not gather much information, but apart from if they are employed or not, okay, our questionnaire is like gathers much more information. But this tool, for example, is very important because all vet centers in the Basque Country complete this questionnaire. So it gives really good information about how the employment rates in the Basque Country, for example, and how the vet centers are doing, and if you can find a job or not afterwards. And here, for example, you can see, for example, in programming or in design, how many of our former students found a job or are unemployed. Okay. Yeah, and that's all from my side. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you very much, Kepa. And now we go to Dr. Stefan Hampel from 3S Research Laboratory in Austria.
Hello, good to see you, everybody.
Hello.
Thanks for inviting me to take part in this online workshop. I will try to present something from my side. So, can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. I will try to present something around the question how to use graduate tracking for vet providers. Maybe a short introduction to myself. I am a general manager of 3S. 3S is working at the interface between vocational education and training and the labor market. We are very much interested in what's going on in Austria and in Europe in vocational education and training. And we are very much interested in feedback cycles around and quality cycles around education and training. And therefore, we are also interested and very much involved in graduate tracking. We did the first graduate tracking study ourselves with the University of Applied Sciences now 23 years ago. So we have a little experience in that. And I was myself part of the quality cycle in the University of Applied Sciences, and I will present a little bit what we did. And I will present a little bit my experiences from this quality cycle and how graduate tracking was used in this University of Applied Sciences. In Austria, we say, especially when it comes to universities of applied sciences, every institution should conduct graduate surveys every 2 to 3 years for the graduates of all study programs. And the topics where you do a questionnaire, they are very much related to the topics we found in the OnTrack project. It's how is the satisfaction with the study program, including feedback to curriculum and its delivery? How is the satisfaction with the institution attended as such? We need some data about employment. Are graduates employed, or are they in another social status? Is the transition from education to employment working in a way as it was intended? And we want to know something about further education. So what do graduates do as further education, and why do they do it? Because that's also very important feedback. The quality process in Austria is in a way designed that there is an institutional evaluation for each University of Applied Sciences in place. We have an accreditation body. The accreditation body visits the institution every 5 to 7 years. It's an external quality cycle. It's looking at the total quality management throughout the whole institution with ongoing quality cycles. And of course, they look also, is there an alumni network in place? And there is, different from that institutional quality cycle, there is a program evaluation, which is about teaching and learning processes, exams and assessment, student feedback culture, and the context to the labor market. And we have to be certain that the graduates play a very important role in these quality cycles, because they are former students. They know they are able to give an overall feedback to their study program for the time they studied there, because they had the study program experienced on their own. Nowadays, they are employees, so they are able to provide information on recent labor market conditions and how their study programs influenced their career. And therefore, they are somehow agents between work and education. They do know aspects from both worlds, from education and from the labor market. So their feedback is really relevant. The internal quality assurance topics involved at the University of Applied Sciences, where I was working. We had 2 main goals. One main goal was the institutional development, and the other main goal was the development of the study programs themselves. When it comes to the institutional developments, there are some aspects mentioned, like marketings, like graduates could be used as role models for the institution. The second topic is partnerships, because they can connect students to the labor market. They are also asked, do you provide practicum places or stuff like that? They can say something about student life and what was good in student life and what makes the institution attractive or not attractive concerning the student life there. And of course, asking them shows the respect to the feedback culture and to the experiences they made as students and now as graduates. And this is really relevant also. More focus was given to the development of the study programs, because the feedback goes very much into the study program development, because we talk about the curriculum and the content of the curriculum. We talk also about the delivery of the curriculum. What is the didactics? What are the forms of the exams? We talk about the teaching staff involved and the contact to the labor market. So input from graduates was taken for curriculum development. So they can say if some courses were good or bad, some courses did fit or did not fit into the curriculum itself. It is very much reflected, because after the graduation they can say something about the whole study program. We do in Austria really tons of course evaluations, and I think, to be honest, they are not used very much. But the graduate feedback is much more valid, I would say. If graduates do some further education, we can have a look at, is this something which is missing in the recent curriculum? Do we have to think of a curriculum reform somehow? Of course, when graduates say, what are their challenges at the labor market nowadays? It's not only about are they employed or are they not employed, but what are their challenges compared to graduates from other institutions? Maybe there are labor market developments going on, and recent labor market requirements, are they reflected in the curriculum somehow? And sometimes even bipolar feedback. Some students say this course was very, very important, and others say this course was not important at all. Maybe then we can talk about, is this a course that should be selected, probably because some needed it very much and others say it's irrelevant. Input from graduates to the delivery of curriculum. The most feedback to the curriculum is not about the curriculum content, but on how the content was delivered. So what is the didactics, what was the form of teaching and learning, etc. And this is also relevant because, of course, this influences how graduates feel about the institution and the study program attended. Sometimes feedback is given to exams and assessment procedures, and this is also different to student feedback. But because as a student you think about this very specific course, but not how is that course part of the whole curriculum, and this is totally different. And in Austria we have, at the universities of applied sciences, we have study program leaders. They are responsible to provide feedback to all the teaching staff and to discuss possible changes. So the feedback coming from the graduates is discussed with all of the teaching staff, and people think about, okay, how can I redo my didactics? How can I redo my course? What can I improve in what I'm teaching and what I'm trying to learn? But that means there is a high requirement of development feedback culture among the teaching staff. So because this is not usual. So we have to be aware that this is probably one of the factors where teachers say, okay, I'm not interested at all because I don't want to change too much. So we have to respect the feedback. We also have to respect the teaching staff. That's clear. It's not that we say only, okay, the graduates say and the teaching staff does. It's not in that way, but we have to respect what's coming. And of course, we have to compare the feedback with the changes done in the curriculum within the last years, because maybe the feedback comes in a situation where something has already changed, and we have to put this into our minds also, because if the feedback says, okay, this course was useless, then we have a look at that. Maybe the course has changed a lot in the direction where the feedback already went. So we have to take this into our minds also. Input from graduates to teaching staff is not very easy. In specific cases, in very, very specific cases, teaching staff was changed, but it was never changed only because of graduates' feedback. I have to admit that. So graduates play an important role in the quality cycle, but they are not, we should not overestimate the role somehow. On the other hand, graduates have the chance to name other relevant experts for specific fields, which is for the development of the study program very important also. And it is also a question of contact to labor market. Graduates know about their own internships and how they may be assessed from the perspective of the employed now. Did they learn really something relevant for the job? In universities of applied sciences, we have to do some internships. Graduates can be contacted for internships for recent students if they say they want to be contacted. And graduates can also be asked to act as teachers and mentors for students. And that's also a question of establishing partnerships with the labor market, which is very important. So in a nutshell, I can say when it comes to the institutional evaluation, graduate feedback is used for the accreditation body visit, which takes place every 5 to 7 years. It is used for the total quality management throughout the whole institution with ongoing quality cycles. It is, of course, used for the alumni networks, and the alumni networks on the other ways are used to create graduate feedback. And it is used for study program evaluation, for the teaching and learning processes, form and timing of exams and assessment. It is very important for student feedback culture, and it is important for the context to the labor markets. That's the experience that we made here. And I'm sure there are other experiences made somewhere else, but I think it gives just a good overview on what is maybe important if you have done graduate tracking, if you have done a graduate questionnaire, and what to do now with the data. So that's from my side. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hamblin. So at the moment, we have 2 open questions. Firstly, is it organizational applying to university policy or touches down to alumni's willingness to stay close to its alma mater?
I think it's something in between. Of course, the institution has interest to stay in contact. So that's of course university's policy. But on the other hand, if graduates are not willing to stay close to their alma mater, they are just gone, and you cannot use their feedback in any way. We have in Austria something else in place, which is administrative data. So we get some specific data from admin sources. So we can have a look with the social security number. We know who studied where and where are they now at the labor market. But of course, there is no qualitative feedback. We only get some figures out. Are they employed or are they not employed? But we cannot say if they are employed in a sector which is relevant to the study program they attended.
Okay, thank you. And second question, how can we cultivate a feedback culture among staff and students?
We have to create some results from the feedback, and this result should be open for everybody. And then we have to take this and talk honestly about that. And in my university, it took place in every month we had a quality cycle going on where teachers were invited. Not all the teachers came, but it was highly recommended that teachers come. And there are students, especially some specific students were asked, okay, how satisfied are you with the program delivered so far? And of course, part of this quality cycle was also the graduate feedback. So it is a lot of communication that needed to be done. And it was always in the hands of the study program leaders where they said, okay, we have to be respectful because we don't have chance to change everything all the time. So we have to establish a respectful communication to each other, where we can say what is good and what is probably not so good, and we can, and the other side should have possibilities to answer to that, because of course sometimes you have something other in your mind as a teacher, and you know, okay, I have to do this because the next term I need this as a basis for what's going on next. So you have to talk about that.
Okay, thank you. We also have two questions, one to Nataša Urbančiková and one to Mr. Kepa-Larondo, who have already been answered in written in the Q&A box. I think it would be a great opportunity if we say them out loud, so Nataša and Kepa can also present the answers to all the participants. So the first question to Natassa was, to what extent is Technical University Alumni Association, does it contribute to the university's welfare, and how is this achieved?
I answered in the way that I see the big potential of the Alumni Association. We have it at our university, but it's very formal. So they are inviting them when we have the big events or something like this, but I think that it can have much bigger potential. And I do hope that within other projects, I will be also able to promote this Alumni Association. For example, like the internship of the students. I think that it can be a very good tool to promote the internship and to ask our alumni to have our students as an interns. So I cannot speak from side of our university like the good example, because I think that we still have much more to do in this area.
Thank you very much. And the second question was to Mr. Larondo. What do you think is the reason for the fact that about 92% of women found work in the subject of studies, perhaps?
Yes. In my opinion, it's because these women chose this technical degree because it was something vocational for them. I mean, there is a low percentage of students that maybe enter in our school, and they study, you know, diploma, but they don't really know if that's what they like. And afterwards, they have to study another thing. This can happen to everybody, but in this case, I think that could be the reason. And also, we have a very low percentage of women studying here technical degrees. So it can also be a coincidence. So we need, in order to draw like final conclusions, we would need to recover more data with higher response rates.
Yeah, thank you very much. As I can see, we do not have any more open questions. So I would like again to thank Professor Nataša Urbančiková, Mr. Kepa-Larondo, and Dr. Stefan Hamel for being with us today. So this is the end of the third day of the Discuss conference. I would like to remind you that after the end of the conference, there will be an evaluation questionnaire popping up in your screen. It would be really great if you could find 5 minutes to answer the evaluation questionnaire. And secondly, if you would like to register for tomorrow's session, you can go to discusslearning.eu. And just a reminder that tomorrow the session is only going to be in Greek. So thank you again very much. I hope to see you all tomorrow. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.